Hi, everyone. Thank you for hopping on our Wednesday webinar series every Wednesday at 10 a.m. We bring together bright minds across education to share what's working and what you guys can take back to your school. For the next half hour, we have three rules, fun rules. One, enjoy the chat. Two, leave with a new idea. And then three, make a connection that matters. My name is Shay Awasanya. I'm the community manager at Parsec, and I want this to feel more like a conversation more than a presentation. So keep your cameras on, and if you have any thoughts or comments, feel free to drop them in the chat, and the wonderful Kim will read them out loud. Last week, we had Erica Piedra from Fresno Unified. She talked about how her district rolled out a plan for their EL departments that included students, families, and community partners, and how they incorporated REAL into gathering input. And then next week, we have Dr. Amy Alzina from Cold Spring Elementary School District. She'll be sharing how their district is planning for AI in education, and she'll walk through what their AI implementation plan looks like. So that'll be next week. And then we have our just our summit announcement. So we heard your feedback. We understand that budgets are tight. And so we are actually changing the summit from a 2-day experience to now a 1-day. And so if you have any questions, feel free to email us at hello@parseceducation.com. And just as a reminder, we have our AJ Crable workshop where he'll be unpacking his book, Great on Their Behalf. And I believe we have about 12 tickets left. So definitely make sure you get a ticket before we, sell all the way out. And then with that, I want to introduce today's speaker. Currently, Dr. Liana Pellegrino. She is the principal at Golden Charter Academy, which is a she's an amazing K through 12 leader with more than a decade of experience advancing equity, representation, and responsive education. She specializes in helping educators deliver identity-affirming instruction and empower students and communities. And if you ever get a chance to visit Golden Charter Academy, which is here in Fresno, you'll see her commitment in action. Outside of her work, she channels her creativity with interior design, building spaces that are warm, functional, and inspiring. I am very excited to have you on here, Dr. P. I would love for you to share the great work that you're doing at Golden Charter and a little bit about yourself for our folks.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Shay, and thank you again for having me. Good morning, everyone. I'm really excited to be here. As Shay had mentioned, I'm the proud principal of Golden Charter Academy. We are a local school here in Fresno, California. We're in our 5th year of operation, so we have a lot of learnings and lessons, as we all do, that I'd love to share with you that hopefully can help impact your space in a positive way, like it has impacted mine. And with that, I wanted to share today's discussions. So today we are going to talk about the first 9 days. That's a program that we started this year, and we'll also talk about why that matters. The first 9 days prioritize relationships and safety from day 1. And then I'll also talk about some outcomes. So how did that impact our scholars as far as engagement and success? And you'll notice me saying scholars. That's one call out that we have at Golden Charter Academy. We don't have students, we have scholars. So know that when I say that language, I am referring to our students. Scholars. So I'm going to go ahead and start and show you a visual of what the first 9 days looks like, starting with the month of August. So at our campus, we have pacing guides, which includes our curriculum and everything around that. As you can see in this visual, I have hearts. Every heart represents 1 day of our first 9 days. So we started school on Tuesday, August 12th. Our 9 days ended on Friday, August 22nd. There's no curriculum that happens in that 9 days. So essentially, these are 9 days for our teachers and staff to really build relationships. And so I'm going to walk you through some of the lessons and what that looks like for us as well as learnings. So here's some context. Last year, we implemented the first 20 days. This year, we are returning to the first 9 days based on some data from teachers. The 20 days were a little too long. We felt as though we could have pulled back to ensure we're starting curriculum earlier. So now we're in the first 9 days. Last year, we utilized Second Step, which is a social emotional learning curriculum. This year, we created our own curriculum that is grounded in what we prioritize as a school site. Last year, our curriculum integrity was in the beginning stages. This year, we have a universal playbook, which is essentially pre-paced curriculum. So I'm sharing this context with you so you understand a lot of the legwork that went into the first 9 days and what's really helping us build those relationships and those rapports with our scholars. Here's some more context for you as well. This is our PBIS matrix. I know I'm in a space with educators who know matrices, who knows positive-based intervention strategies. We built this matrix year 4 of operation. We didn't have one. This walks us through exactly what it means to be golden on our campus. So this essentially is taken and split up within the first 9 days. That's taught in a way where scholars feel safe, but also they understand the expectations. Oops. Thank you, Shay. So here's what this looks like. And I'll voice this over because it's a little small, but essentially over the first 9 days, we prioritized 9 different things. And the first day you can see here is community building and safety. That was the priority. We told teachers community building and safety, and that included scripted lesson plans and a detailed breakdown of what their day looks like. Day 2, we went to routines and feelings identifications. So here's some routines that we're doing and how are you feeling? Let's start at a basis level. After we went through routines and feelings, we then built onto that and say, now let's start with some coping skills. When you're feeling frustrated or when you're feeling upset, how are we going to cope with those so you can access our academic routines? We built on that. Then we said, okay, let's start with some teamwork and trust building. Who's in my class? Who is in my table group? What are their names? What do they like? What are some norms that we can do as a team when I'm learning? And then Friday, the most important, day 5, celebrating. So celebrate your successes, celebrate them as a classroom. Then we go into day 6, where there's peer support and affirmations. So we have teamwork, which happened the week before, and now it's really building on how are we supporting one another and how are we affirming one another. Day 7, we moved into leadership and conflict resolution. Day 8 was strengths-based learning, and day 9 was reflection and independence. So that was a lot of speaking, but at a high level, we essentially broke down what are the most important things that we wanted our scholars to achieve as a foundation to engage in academics. And we split them between these 9 days, and we intentionally created activities that our teachers could lead with our scholars in classrooms to do all of these things universally, not in isolation. Now I have some really exciting data, but before we get to the data, I'd love to include y'all in this discussion. And we're going to do a little bit of spot the culture. So I'm going to flash some pictures on the screen. These are pictures from our school site, actually, with some of our scholars and teachers. And I really want us to look and see what touch points do you see. And when I am saying touch points, I'm going to clarify that. Touch points meaning what are the messages about culture and values that you see in this picture? And feel free to type it in the chat or come off mute and share as well. Oops, I'm sorry. I did not mean to click that, Shay.
Go back. There you go.
Thank you. Thank you, Laura. Yes, welcoming and valuing each student. That was our first day of school. Right. They greeted her personally. Exactly. And when I tell you, this was our first year of actually welcoming scholars like this. And it was so interesting seeing how a scholar and a family would show up versus how they felt after they walked through that tunnel and they got the hugs and they got that affirmation. It was just a really positive way to start the year. Yes, staff outfits, exactly. Yep. And that's one of the things we're a uniform school, and we have a logo. And so that brings a lot of safety and security for our scholars as well. Thank you so much for participating. Let's go to the next one. This is actually our fourth grade teacher.
And it looks to me like they're being respectful of whoever's speaking. They're all paying attention.
Thank you, Kimberly. Yeah. Engagement, community through a circle, and a talking piece. You're really good at this, Laura. She's really good. Yes, and that talking piece, this is very, a small piece, but all of our classrooms were named after colleges this year. And so her classroom is Harvard University. And so long story short, we made some adjustments to the mascot that was a little more appropriate. So they are the goats. That's kind of their thing. So that's their class mascot, that they will use every morning. And that's been a very powerful space for us. Okay, we just have two more pictures. Interactivity, yes, space to engage, exactly. And Elena, that is key. I was having a conversation with one of my teachers this morning. Just having a space to engage with a scholar is half the battle. Once you have that space and they know it's safe, they will open up to you and you're like, why did I open up this space? But in a good way, because you really get to understand who they are. Okay, we'll go to the next picture. My remote access is a little laggy. Thank you. Okay, what messages or culture or values do you see here?
I just realized there's only a few people on. I don't have to type it in.
Thank
But
you.
I like the eye contact and the fist bump high five of connecting with that individual student, getting to know them, build relationship.
Absolutely. As the principal, I try to fist bump or high five every scholar in the morning. And so you'll see that across our campus. Our staff members will hug, fist bumps, all the things. And so that's been really effective to really have our scholars start out for just have a very strong day. And we'll go to the last one. What messages about culture and values do you see here?
I see a big, it looks like maybe like a morning meeting school wide, and everyone is in a square or a circle, so they're all included.
Thank you, Laura. Yep. This is our morning affirmations. So that's key to what we do here. And every morning it's like a school assembly. We have all of our classrooms line up, and we do what's called a word of the day. So this is actually Mr. Travis. He's one of our veteran learning guys. He's been at GCA since year one, and we deliver a word of the day. And what's really powerful is if you notice behind Mr. Travis, you'll see all of the individuals kind of under that awning. Those are all families. So we have a lot of family engagement. And so similar to how we make space for our students, it's important to make space for families, because if you make space, they will show up and they will show out. So thank you so much for engaging in that. Oh, thank you, Elena. Yes, it is a wonderful ritual. Our students love it. As a staff member, I will say sometimes when I have a hard morning, I'm like, all right, morning affirmations, let's get pumped up. And it's a really great way to start everyone's day school-wide. This is as I mentioned previously, we're in our 5th year of operation. So we've done this since year one, and this is definitely something that we'll continue to do through the existence of GCA. So thank you so much for engaging, Laura and Elena. I really appreciate it. Now I wanted to share some staff survey data. So we partner with Parsec. We love Parsec, and we utilize Parsec Real, which is a survey tool to survey students, staff, as well as teachers, families, you name it. After our first 9 days of instruction, we did a survey that was administered to our staff. We have a larger staff, so we're about 85 staff members. And I asked them questions around how effective were the 9 days and what could be done better. And so I wanted to share some of that with you all as you process through, what can this look like for you? So the first question we asked our staff was, how effective were the first 9 days? And so you can see overall, this is the summary that Parsec Real prepares for you. It's very nice. AI compiles everything. 71% of our staff were like, great. They built strong relationships. And I mean, you can actually see it's even a little more because you have mostly positive. And that was really great for us as a staff to see, because one of our goals this year is to build universal language and understanding of what does strong classroom management look like as we continue to grow, and how do you build positive relationships. So to see from staff that the systems that we put in place were effective was really helpful as a leadership team to know, okay, we're making progress. Here are some of the themes. Some of our teachers really appreciated the dedicated time. They liked that I wasn't like, hey, it's day 2 of school, now you should teach lesson 2. It was all about connecting with students the entire day. Our teachers also expressed the need for more structured activities. So that was a great grow area for us, because we're giving the space, we're giving some structured activity, but there's still a need for more activities and planning time. So that'll kind of be our next step for next year. And our teachers really enjoyed highlighting the role of consistent routines because it really helped them set a positive tone for the school year. Here's a quote that I wanted to share. It's actually from one of our teachers. Parsec Real, when you look at the data, it gives you the most opinionated out of the responses. And so I'll go ahead and read this over because this one really hit me in a really positive way. The first 9 days have been very effective in building strong relationships and fostering a positive classroom community. Through consistent routines, engaging activities, and intentional relationship building strategies, I've seen students become more comfortable, supportive of one another, and eager to participate. This foundation has created a sense of trust and belonging that will continue to strengthen as the year progresses. I just got the chills reading that again, and I got the chills the first time I read it. To have adults on my campus in spaces with students who are speaking this way about our scholars is a really positive win for our school site. And so I wanted to highlight that. Now, based on what I shared about our first round of evidence from a school site, yeah, Kimberly, I love that quote too. If I would love to hear, even if it's a quick chat or we come off mute, what evidence would you look for to see if your students or scholars felt connected and safe? I'll go ahead and start. Some of the evidence that I look for when I walk into classroom spaces is I look for our scholars smiling.
I would say seeing them interact with a staff member or other students shows that they're building the relationships.
Right. Exactly, Laura.
I think language can be a big indicator, like as a behavioral signal, positive language that they're using about both themselves and those around them, or the negative language they might inflict on themselves or those around them can be an indicator of culture and atmosphere and how they feel about a place that they're in.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kimberly. And that's the evidence that I, as an administrator, go in and look for. So one of the pieces, in addition to the first 9 days, is I went in at the end of the 9 days and looked for evidence like this. I walked through classrooms and I said, I noticed this, I noticed this, I noticed this. So then I have a touch point on, okay, what classrooms do I need to prioritize my focus on? And what classrooms do I have where I have teacher leaders and some really strong spaces where I can build collaboration between those two teachers and utilize our instructional coaches to provide that real-time coaching, because, you know, we're still in a teacher shortage, I like to say, and so staff turnover is a thing. So if there's any opportunity to provide coaching, it's really important that you do it right now before the year continues on, as you know, we know. So thank you so much for sharing. I'm going to move to the second question now, which, thank you, Marvin, which is an opportunity for our staff to give adjusting feedback. So this question was, what adjustments or additional supports would you strengthen, or supports would help you strengthen student relationships as we transition into academic instruction? So again, I know some of us came in late, so I want to make sure this question makes sense. The first 9 days started from the first day of school. So after the 9 days were over, instruction began. So this survey was administered right before the 9 days were over. So then we knew as a staff what to help our teachers with as they go into instruction. So as you can see here, 47% favorability, and that's okay. You know, when you have a question framed, you know, what adjustments or supports, normally it tends, you know, to lean towards a little less favorability. But again, data is data and it helps us. So some of the trends that came out of this question and opportunities for us using Parsec Real is our teachers still called for clear guidance and a shared understanding among teaching team and support staffs, which, as I mentioned in the beginning, we're only in our 5th year of operation. So this is kind of something we anticipated, and we're going to work on to continue to make that clear. Our teachers also highlighted the need for instructional coaching and guidance on relationship building. So even though we provided these resources and we coached them through how to have relationships, our staff felt safe to say, hey, actually, I'm still really struggling and I need some more support, which is okay. And lastly, our educators also emphasize the importance of family buy-in through the process. So making more time for meetings and community building activities as well, which we will take into our next school year to make sure that happens. So here's the most opinionated for question 2. As we transition into academic instruction, continuing to provide structured time for community building activities and check-ins would be beneficial. Additional support with resources that combine social emotional learning and academics would also help reinforce relationships while keeping the focus on instruction. Consistent collaboration with colleagues to share strategies and celebrate successes would further strengthen connections with students. I know. So let that soak in. One of my goals this year was to really help our staff understand the importance of social emotional learning and how we can make that live and breathe throughout our day instead of having it be a morning circle and then that's it. And so this is a real evidence piece for us as leaders to say, okay, we're making the right steps. Our staff are seeing the importance of social emotional learning. And so now our next step is how do we continue to weave that throughout the school year in a way that makes sense for teachers so they're able to do that with their students. So I know that we're in a small group, so maybe we don't do breakout groups, and that's okay. We can maybe type in the chat or come off mute as I close. But I'd love to hear from the audience after this, after I went through my presentation. What specific actions do you think schools should prioritize to ensure every student, staff member, and family member feels engaged? And maybe what does that look like for you?
I know at my school, do you want me to intro?
Oh, yes, please. Thank you for reading the slide I wrote.
Uh,
I appreciate that, Laura.
I'm Laura Burial, Teaching and Learning Director at Natomas Charter School in Sacramento. And so we're TK-12. One thing that we look to do, especially post-COVID, is work on really making those connections. And so we have for our kind of onboarding years, so kinder, TK, then it'll be 6th grade for the middle school, and then 9th grade for the high school. We have family orientations, and so the students go and have a link crew and web leaders, so like mentors from the upper grades, and they get assigned a group of kids that then they check in with all year. And then at the same time, the parents go and they get broken up into smaller groups with teachers, and the teachers take them on a little rotation kind of around campus. But like in one room, they learn how to check their kids' grades, in the next room, they learn, what are the behavior expectations, and trying to get them to like make a buddy. Because we're charter, we don't just pull from the local area, we pull from all over. So that's kind of our strategy to sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, to get people connected, because the more connected they are to each other, the more they will be at our school. So
Thank you for sharing, Laura. I appreciate that. And that's really powerful. And I actually appreciate that because that's something that we're working on as a school site, those systems for family engagement that make the most sense. So I'm going to actually steal or borrow some of that and maybe bring it to our team here to see how we can implement that at GCA.
absolutely, yeah, feel free to reach out.
Thank
I'll
you.
put my email in the chat.
Oh, great. Okay.
Dr. Liana, can I take it back from you?
Absolutely.
Cool. Thank you everyone, just for taking the time to spend with us on this Wednesday. If you guys have any questions for Liana, they are doing amazing things at Golden Charter. I believe Kim has put the contact in the chat room. But with that, I want to thank you guys again for joining us. Next week, we'll have Dr. Amy Alzina talking about AI implementation. So with that, happy Wednesday, and we'll see you guys in a week.
Thank you.
Thank you. So nice to meet you. Thank you, Marvin.